This is Vonda Evans of Vonda's Law. Today I want to talk about the sentencing of Derek Chauvin. Well, we know that Derek Chauvin is going to be sentenced today in a brutal killing of George Floyd. If you have been living under a rock or in outer space, you know that today is a huge day. I want to talk a little bit about my predictions on the sentencing. As a former judge and now practicing attorney, what I personally see is going to be. Because the people bear the burden, they get to go first. So they're going to talk about the brutality of the killing. They're going to talk about how it's so senseless, and they're going to be requesting the high end of the guidelines to be sentenced. And what are guidelines? Guidelines are a group of considerations or factors that the judge should look to in making a decision. The prosecution is asking for up to 30 years. The defense is asking for probation, which is not going to happen. So the defense gets an opportunity to present their evidence. What they're going to talk about is that he has no prior record, that Derek Chauvin was a police officer, that he served a community, a married man, that he was active in a community. They're going to try to portray him as this was an isolated situation. They may talk about the facts in a limited manner, talk about how he was there as a police officer responding to a request for a crime, and that he just wasn't looking just to randomly attack citizens, and that basically George Floyd resisted, and this was necessary. They're only going to talk about it that quick, because at this point, you're trying to get sympathy from the judge. You're trying to show things that are in light most favorable to your client at this point. Then Derek Chauvin has an opportunity what's called allocution. Allocution is the opportunity for the person who is accused of a crime to basically speak on their behalf. And they also can present testimony from the community. In a limited form, what Derek Chauvin should basically say is something simple. On the advice of my lawyer, I don't want to say anything. I'm praying for my family and theirs. Leave it alone. But Derek Chauvin is a macho hothead. And so therefore, he want to talk about how he been railroaded and ranting and raving. This is not going to help him. This is going to make the judge believe that he is not remorseful. Remorse is how you get a low sentence. Remorse for the situation, for your culpability. This is how you do it. Because you have an appeal, you don't want to go into the facts too much. That's what I would advise Derek Chauvin to shut up. But the situation here is that it's very important, because the judge is looking to see if there's something redeemable, remorseful. That's how you get out of prison, because he's going to prison. And being a hothead, he's going to say something. The prosecution, because they bear the burden, get one more shot after he does. And what they're going to do is say, isolated incident. They then can bring in other instances in which he used excessive force with the community. You're married, your wife divorced you. His community involvement, they probably have something to counter that. And what they get the last say because they bear the burden. And what they're going to try to hit home to the judge is, this is a man who lacks remorse. This was a brutal, brutal crime. He was an officer, so he should know better. And so therefore, you should give him the top of the guidelines. Guidelines are statutory recommendations to the judge of what they should do. The judge then scores them and comes up with an idea of what to do. But Derek Chauvin is going to talk his way right on up that higher sentence. As the judge, and what I've seen him do so far, I don't believe that he's overly sympathetic to the African American community. I believe that probably in a small town like that, Derek Chauvin has appeared before him. I don't believe that they're friendly. But I do believe that he's going to look at the fact that he is a 45-year-old man, no prior record, who was a police officer. And I believe that they'll split the baby in half. My prediction, somewhere around 12 to 15 on the low end, tops 20 years. But Derek Chauvin is going to be the one that's going to push those numbers up because he don't listen. He does not take advice from anybody. He think he know everything. And that is what, if a person is facing a sentencing, what you want to do is to make sure that your lawyer does what's called a sentencing memorandum. And that will include all the good things about you. The fact that, you know, a limited criminal record, a family person, community person, your education, your skill, etc. Enclosed pictures, letters from family members, pictures of family members. That's very, very important. To me, a picture speaks 1,000 words. Limit what you say because the review by the higher court will be everything. The less you say, the better it is. But knowing Derek Chauvin, he gonna run his mouth. But listen, after the sentencing is over, which I will be watching, we'll have an opportunity to chime in. But those are just my predictions, and this has been Vonda's Law.